The warning bells rang through the Galactic Council building. Ambassador Zethkar dropped his morning drink and ran to the emergency meeting room. His blue skin turned pale as he read the reports on his datapad. Something terrible was happening in the Sol system. The monitoring station at Alpha Centauri had been watching Earth for over 300 years. The small blue planet was home to a young species called humans. They were supposed to be safe under the Council's protection laws. No advanced species could visit them or give them technology. The humans were still learning to fly in space, but now the sensors showed something impossible. Zethkar entered the meeting room where other council members were already talking in worried voices. The room had beings from 12 different worlds. Some looked like giant insects. Others were made of living crystal. A few looked almost human, but with extra arms or different colored skin. "Show them the readings," said Science Director Velinara. She was from a world of tall, thin people with silver hair. Her hands shook as she touched the controls. The main screen lit up with numbers and charts. Energy readings from Earth showed massive power levels, the kind of power that could destroy whole cities. But the readings were not from one place. They came from hundreds of locations all over the planet. "This started 3 days ago," Velinara said. "At first, we thought it was a solar storm, but the patterns are too organized. Look at this." The screen showed a map of Earth. Red dots marked the energy sources. They formed perfect lines across the continents. North America, Europe, Asia, Australia, all had the same strange patterns. Council leader Thexmore stood up. He was old, even for his long-lived species. His forearms moved as he spoke. "Could this be a natural event?" "No," Velinara replied. "The energy signatures match weapon discharges. But they're unlike anything we've seen. The humans shouldn't have this technology for another 1,000 years. Ambassador Zethkar studied the data. "What about invasion? Could another species be attacking Earth?" The room went quiet. Attacking a protected world was the worst crime in galactic law. But the evidence was hard to ignore. The energy levels were massive. Whole sections of Earth's surface showed signs of destruction. Satellite images revealed huge clouds of dust and smoke. "There's more," Velinara continued. "We're detecting movement of large metallic objects. Thousands of them. They're moving in organized groups across the planet's surface." She showed them enhanced images. The objects were hard to see through the dust clouds, but they were clearly artificial. Some were the size of buildings. They moved in straight lines, working together like a military formation. Defense Minister Korax slammed his scaled fist on the table. "This is an invasion. Someone is attacking Earth and we're just watching." "But who?" asked another council member. "Our long-range sensors show no ships entering the system. How did an invasion force get to Earth without us seeing them?" Zethkar had been studying human reports for years. He knew their technology levels. They had simple computers and basic rockets. Their weapons could barely destroy a single building. They were peaceful creatures who spent most of their time growing food and making art. "Maybe the humans are fighting back," he suggested. "Maybe they found some old technology buried on their planet." Velinara shook her head. "The energy patterns don't show a battle. They show coordinated destruction. Someone is systematically tearing apart Earth's surface, and the humans seem to be helping them." This made everyone freeze. Helping destroy their own planet? That made no sense. "What do you mean, helping?" Thexmore asked. "We intercepted some of their communication signals. The humans are talking about schedules and deadlines. They're organizing work shifts. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's like they're following orders." The implications hit everyone at once. If the humans were being controlled by an enemy force, it meant that force had technology beyond anything the Council knew about. Mind control on a planetary scale was supposed to be impossible. Korax stood up again. "We have to act. The protection laws say we must defend primitive species from outside threats. But what if we're wrong?" Zethkar asked. "What if this isn't an invasion? What if we don't understand what we're seeing?" "Then we send a scout ship," Thexmore decided. A small fast vessel that can get close enough to see what's really happening, but they must not be detected. If there is an invasion force, we need to know how powerful they are before we act. The council voted. 12 members agreed to send a secret mission. Only Zethkar voted against it. Something about the whole situation felt wrong to him. In all his years of watching humans, they had always surprised him. They learned fast and adapted to problems in ways other species couldn't. As the meeting ended, Zethkar looked at the energy readings one more time. The numbers were growing. Whatever was happening on Earth was getting bigger and more intense. Entire mountain ranges showed signs of being moved. Rivers were being redirected. It looked like someone was rebuilding the whole planet, but why would invaders want to rebuild Earth? Why not just take its resources and leave? And why were the humans cooperating so willingly? Velinara walked over to him. "You look troubled, Ambassador." "I've been watching the humans for a long time," he said. "They don't act like other species. They don't think like we do. What if this isn't what it looks like? You think they're doing this themselves?" she asked. "Impossible. They don't have the technology." Zethkar looked at the screen showing Earth, the little blue planet that had always seemed so peaceful and quiet. Now it glowed with energy signatures that could be seen from across the galaxy. "Maybe we don't know them as well as we thought," he said quietly. The scout mission would launch in 2 days. Soon they would have answers. Zethkar just hoped those answers wouldn't change everything the council thought they knew about the universe. As he left the building, he wondered if they were about to discover that Earth's protection wasn't needed anymore. And if so, what did that mean for the rest of the galaxy? 2 days later, Science Director Velinara stood on the bridge of the scout ship Quiet Observer. The ship was small and fast, built for watching without being seen. Its advanced sensors could detect a single flower from orbit, but its stealth systems made it invisible to most technology. Captain Yextal checked the navigation controls. "We'll reach the edge of the Sol system in 6 hours, he reported. "The humans still use basic radar. They won't know we're here." Velinara nodded, but her worry was growing. The energy readings from Earth had doubled since the council meeting. Whatever was happening there was getting bigger every day. The ship's communication officer, a young female named Rinter, looked up from her station. "Director, we're receiving new signals from Earth, much stronger than before." "Put them on the main speakers," Velinara ordered. The bridge filled with strange sounds. Human voices talking rapidly in their various languages. But mixed with the voices were other sounds, deep rumbling noises, high-pitched whines, and rhythmic pounding that seemed to shake the very air. "Can you translate any of it?" Velinara asked. Rinter worked at her controls. "Some of it. They're talking about construction schedules, equipment deliveries, and environmental reports." "Wait, here's something interesting. They keep mentioning deadlines and overtime work." "Overtime work?" Captain Yextal asked. "What does that mean?" "It means working extra hours beyond normal time," the translation computer explained. "Humans are apparently working more than their usual schedule to complete some kind of project." Velinara felt confused. If Earth was being invaded, why were humans talking about work schedules? Invaders would use force, not organize labor shifts. "Director," called the sensor operator, "we're getting detailed readings from the planet now. The energy signatures are even stranger up close." The main screen showed Earth in real time. The planet looked different than it had just days ago. Huge sections of land showed geometric patterns that weren't there before. Mountains had been flattened in some places. In others, new hills had appeared where valleys used to be. "Those metallic objects we detected are moving constantly," the sensor operator continued. "They're working in groups, reshaping the landscape. But here's the weird part. The humans are directing them." "Directing them?" Velinara moved closer to the screen. "Show me." The image zoomed in on North America. Thousands of large metal machines were scattered across the continent. Some dug into the ground. Others carried massive loads of dirt and rock. A few seemed to be building new structures. And everywhere among the machines, small figures moved around, human figures. The humans appear to be operating the machines, the sensor operator explained. Each machine has one or more humans controlling it. This made no sense to Velanara. If aliens had invaded Earth, they would use their own operators. They wouldn't trust the local population with advanced technology. And the machines didn't look like any known alien designs. "Can we get audio from the surface?" she asked. "Yes, Director." The humans broadcast on many frequencies. The speakers crackled with new sounds. Human voices, but different this time. They sounded focused and determined, not scared or confused. One voice spoke in clear English. "Team 7, move those soil samples to grid reference Delta 4. We need to finish the foundation work before the concrete trucks arrive." Another voice replied, "Copy that, Control. Team 7 moving to Delta 4. Estimated completion time is 1400 hours. Velanara looked at Captain Yextal. "They sound like they're following a plan. A very detailed plan. Maybe the invaders are controlling their minds," suggested Rinter, "making them think this is normal work." "Listen to more signals," Velanara ordered. For the next hour, they intercepted hundreds of human communications. Construction workers reporting progress. Supervisors giving new orders. Truck drivers confirming deliveries. Engineers discussing technical problems, but there was something else. The humans seemed excited about their work. They celebrated when they finished difficult tasks. They helped each other solve problems. They worked together with an efficiency that amazed the watching aliens. "Director," the sensor operator called, "I'm detecting something unusual. The humans are working in shifts around the clock. When one group stops, another group immediately takes over. The work never stops." "That's physically impossible," Captain Yextal said. "No species can maintain that level of activity." "The humans can, apparently," Velanara replied quietly. She watched the screen as tiny human figures moved among the giant machines. Each person seemed to know exactly what to do. There were no delays, no confusion, no wasted motion. It was like watching a single organism with millions of parts working together. "Look at this," the sensor operator said, highlighting a section of South America. "They're building some kind of transportation system. Metal tracks stretching across the entire continent. And here in Asia, they're creating what looks like a massive water management system." The scale of the projects was incredible. The humans were reshaping their entire planet. Moving mountains, redirecting rivers, building structures that could be seen from space. And they were doing it all at once, coordinated across different continents. "How long would it take our civilization to do something like this?" Velanara asked. Captain Yextal thought for a moment. "To reshape an entire planet? Maybe 10,000 years? And we'd need the combined resources of multiple star systems. The humans are doing it in what appears to be months," Velanara observed. "That's impossible. And yet we're watching it happen." Rinter looked up from her translation work. "Director, I think I understand what they're calling this project. The word appears in many languages, but it translates roughly as the Great Work or the Big Build." "The Big Build," Velanara repeated. "They seem to consider it the most important thing their species has ever attempted. Every nation, every government, every organization on the planet is participating. It's like their entire civilization has united for this single purpose." Velanara stared at the screen. The energy readings were off the charts. The construction activity covered every continent. Millions of humans worked together with perfect coordination, and they were accomplishing something that should take advanced civilizations thousands of years. "Captain, take us closer. I want detailed scans of their technology." "But Director, if we're detected, we won't be. I need to understand what we're really looking at here." As the ship moved toward Earth, Velanara felt a growing certainty that the Council had made a terrible mistake. This wasn't an invasion. This was something else entirely. Something that might force them to reconsider everything they thought they knew about human capabilities. The question that worried her most was simple. If humans could do this much while still considered primitive, What would they be capable of when they really advanced? Science Director Velanara pressed her face closer to the viewing screen as the quiet observer entered Earth's outer atmosphere. What she saw made her mind struggle to understand the reality before her. "Take us down to 5,000 meters, she ordered Captain Yextel. "I want to see exactly what those machines are doing." "Director, that's very low. If the humans detect us, they won't. Their sensors are still primitive. But I need visual confirmation of what we're observing." The ship descended through the clouds over what the humans called North America. As the view cleared, Velanara gasped. The landscape below looked like a construction site the size of a continent. Massive machines moved in perfect formation across the terrain. Some were taller than buildings, with huge arms that could lift entire sections of mountainside. Others rolled on massive wheels, carrying loads of rock and soil that would have required dozens of ships to transport. And everywhere among them, tiny human figures directed the work. "Impossible," whispered Captain Yextel. "Those machines are larger than our biggest construction equipment. How did a primitive species build them?" "Look at the humans operating them," Velanara pointed to the screen. "They're not struggling with the controls? They move those machines like extensions of their own bodies." She was right. Each human operator seemed completely comfortable with technology that should have taken years to learn. They guided the massive machines through precise movements, working together like dancers performing a complex routine. "Show me what they're building," Velanara ordered. The sensor operator adjusted the view. "Director, they appear to be constructing some kind of transportation network. Metal tracks, but much larger than anything we've seen. And look at this." The image shifted to show a construction site where humans were assembling a structure made of metal and glass. It rose from the ground like a crystal mountain, but its design was purely functional. No decoration, no wasted space, just efficient engineering. "That building is going up incredibly fast," observed Renter. "They laid the foundation yesterday and it's already 50 stories tall. How is that possible?" Captain Yextel asked. "They're working in shifts around the clock," the sensor operator explained. "Look at the activity patterns. When the day shift finishes, the night shift immediately takes over. The construction never stops." Velanara watched in amazement as hundreds of humans coordinated their efforts. Cranes lifted materials into place while workers secured them. Supply trucks arrived precisely when needed. Everything moved with mechanical precision, but it was all controlled by organic beings. "Take us to another location," she requested. "I want to see if this pattern is consistent across the planet." The ship moved to Asia, where an equally impressive scene unfolded. Here, the humans were redirecting a major river. Massive pumps moved water through temporary channels while construction teams built a new riverbed. The scale of the project was breathtaking. "They're moving enough water to supply a dozen cities," Captain Yextal observed. "And they're doing it while keeping the river flowing. The engineering precision is incredible." "Look at their coordination," Velanara pointed to groups of workers scattered across the construction site. "No confusion, no delays. Every person knows exactly what to do and when to do it." They watched for an hour as the humans continued their work. Teams of engineers studied plans and made adjustments. Construction workers operated machinery with expert skill. Supervisors coordinated between different groups. And through it all, the project moved forward at a pace that defied understanding. "Take us to Europe," Velanara said finally. "In Europe." They found humans building what appeared to be an energy distribution network. Massive cables stretched between newly constructed towers, forming a grid that covered multiple countries. Solar collectors and wind generators dotted the landscape, all connected to the growing network. "They're rebuilding their entire power system," the sensor operator reported, "making it more efficient and expanding its capacity by a factor of 10. "Why?" Captain Yextal asked. "What do they need so much power for?" Velanara studied the patterns on her screen. "Maybe for whatever comes next. This might just be the preparation phase." The thought sent chills through the bridge crew. If this massive construction project was just preparation, what was the main event going to be? Director, Rinter called from the communication station. I'm receiving a broadcast from the Human Global Construction Council. It's being transmitted worldwide. Put it on speakers. A human voice filled the bridge, speaking in clear English. The translation system provided understanding for the alien listeners. Citizens of Earth, this is Director Sarah Chun with your daily progress report. Phase 1 construction is proceeding ahead of schedule. The North American transportation grid is 67% complete. The Asian water management system is on target for completion next month. The European energy network is exceeding all projections. The voice paused, then continued with what sounded like pride. I'm pleased to announce that we're ready to begin Phase 2 construction 6 weeks early. Beginning tomorrow, teams will start work on the orbital elevator foundations and the lunar mining facility preparations. The broadcast ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Orbital elevator? Captain Yextel repeated weakly. Lunar mining facilities? They're not just rebuilding their planet, Velinara realized with growing horror. They're preparing for space expansion. Industrial space expansion. She called up the historical data on human development. The numbers made her dizzy. Humans had gone from horse-drawn transportation to motorized vehicles in 50 years. From first flight to space travel in 66 years. From primitive computers to global information networks in 40 years. They don't develop technology gradually like other species, she whispered. They explode forward in sudden jumps. And each jump is bigger than the last. The implications crashed over her like a wave. The Galactic Council had been watching Earth, thinking they were observing a primitive species that needed protection. Instead, they had been watching the emergence of what might become the most powerful civilization the galaxy had ever seen. We need to return to the Council immediately, she told Captain Yextal. This changes everything. As the quiet observer climbed back toward space, Velinara looked down at Earth one last time. The little blue planet glowed with activity. Millions of lights marked construction sites working through the night. Energy signatures painted the continents in brilliant colors on her sensors. The humans called it the Big Build, but Velinara now understood what she was really looking at. It wasn't construction. It was evolution. An entire species transforming itself and its world at a speed that made other civilizations look like they were standing still, and they were doing it all by themselves. With technology they had invented in just the past few decades, the most terrifying part wasn't what the humans were accomplishing now. It was imagining what they would be capable of in 10 years, or 50 years, or 100 years. The galaxy was about to change, and the humans didn't even know they were changing it. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been going on for 6 hours. Science Director Velinara stood at the center of the Great Chamber, showing her findings to the assembled representatives from 12 worlds. The silence in the room was deeper than space itself. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, said Council Leader Thexmore, his forearms trembling slightly. The humans are not under attack. They are not being invaded. They are doing this construction themselves? That is correct, Velinara replied. What we thought was planetary warfare is actually the largest construction project in recorded galactic history. And they're completing it in less than a year. Ambassador Zethkar studied the data on his personal screen. The numbers made his blue skin turn even paler. According to these readings, they've moved more earth and rock in 6 months than my entire civilization has moved in 1,000 years. How is that possible? Demanded Defense Minister Korax. Their technology level was barely above stone tools just a few centuries ago. Velinara activated a new display. I've prepared a timeline of human technological development. Please observe carefully. The main screen showed a chart that made the council members gasp. Human progress wasn't a gentle slope like other civilizations. It was a series of vertical jumps, each one steeper than the last. They discovered electricity in 1879, Velinara explained. By 1969, they were traveling to their moon. 90 years from discovering electrical power to spaceflight. For comparison, it took the hegemony 3,000 years to make the same journey. That's impossible, whispered Representative Qualith from the Crystal Worlds. No species can advance that quickly. The humans can, Velanara continued. Look at their computer development. They built their first primitive computer in 1946. By 2025, they had created artificial intelligence systems that could solve problems faster than their own brains. 79 years from counting machine to artificial intelligence. The council chamber filled with nervous sounds as representatives processed this information. Several members started private conversations with their advisors. But surely they must have had help, suggested Ambassador Nexor from the floating cities. Some advanced civilization must have guided them. Velanara shook her head. Our monitoring stations have maintained constant watch over Earth for 300 years. No outside civilization has made contact with humanity. Every advancement they've achieved has come from their own research and development. Council leader Thexmore activated his personal communicator. Computer, show me the standard development timeline for a typical emerging civilization. A new chart appeared beside the human data. The difference was shocking. Where human advancement showed sharp upward spikes, the standard timeline showed gentle curves spanning thousands of years. According to galactic norms, the computer announced, humanity should currently be in the early agricultural phase, possibly beginning to work with metals. They should not achieve spaceflight for another 8,000 years. 8,000 years, Thexmore repeated slowly. And instead, they're building orbital elevators and planning lunar mining operations. Velanara gestured to another display. Their current construction project includes infrastructure that some of our civilizations don't possess. Look at this energy distribution network they're building. It's more efficient than anything we use in the hegemony. Are you suggesting, Defense Minister Korax asked quietly, that a species we classified as primitive has developed technology superior to our own? In some areas, yes, Velanara confirmed. Their construction techniques are definitely more advanced. The speed of their coordination is beyond anything we've achieved, and their ability to organize planetary-scale projects while maintaining local production is remarkable. Ambassador Zethkar had been studying the human communication intercepts. Look at these work reports, he said, sharing his screen with the chamber. They're completing construction tasks that would take our best teams weeks to finish. And they're doing it in days, sometimes hours. How many humans are participating in this construction project? Asked Representative Qualith. Nearly all of them, Velanara replied. Our estimates suggest that over 90% of the human population is somehow involved in what they call the big build, either as direct workers, support staff, or resource providers. The implications of this hit the Council like a shockwave. An entire species working together on a single project with perfect coordination. No other civilization in galactic history had achieved such unity. What are they building it for? Council leader Thexmore asked. What is the purpose of this massive construction? Velanara brought up the human broadcasts they had intercepted. According to their public communications, this is preparation for what they call Phase 2 of human development. They're rebuilding their entire planet to support space-based industry and colonization. Colonization? Defense Minister Korax stood up quickly. They're planning to expand beyond their own world? Not just planning, Velanara corrected. Based on their current rate of progress, they could begin interplanetary expansion within the next 5 years. And given their development speed, they'll likely achieve faster-than-light travel within decades. The chamber erupted in worried discussions. Representatives talked rapidly with their advisors. Several members activated emergency communications to their homeworlds. Ambassador Zethkar raised his hand for attention. I've been reviewing our protection protocols for primitive worlds. Humanity no longer qualifies as primitive by any reasonable standard. What classification would you assign them? Asked Council Leader Thexmore. Zethkar hesitated before answering. Based on their technological advancement rate, their construction capabilities, and their species-wide coordination abilities, I would classify them as an emerging superpower. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. In 300 years of monitoring, no species had ever jumped from primitive to superpower status so quickly. Are they dangerous? Representative Qualif asked the question everyone was thinking. Velinara considered carefully before responding. We have no evidence of aggressive intentions. Their construction project appears to be entirely focused on improving their own world and preparing for peaceful expansion. However, however what? Demanded Defense Minister Corax. However, their capabilities now exceed our ability to control or contain them. If they decided to expand aggressively, we would have very limited options to stop them. Council Leader Thexmore looked around the chamber at the worried faces of the galactic representatives. How long before they discover faster-than-light travel? Given their current rate of advancement, Velinara calculated, I estimate between 20 and 50 years. Possibly sooner if they focus their efforts on space technology. And when they do achieve FTL travel, Thexmore continued, they'll discover that they're not alone in the universe. They'll learn about the Galactic Council, about all of us, about the protection protocols we've maintained around their world. The full implications of their situation finally became clear to everyone in the chamber. Humanity was about to become a major galactic power, and they had no idea that other civilizations existed. When they found out, they would also discover that those civilizations had been watching them like animals in a zoo for centuries. What? Asked Council Leader Thexmore quietly. Are we going to do about it? The chamber fell silent as 12 civilizations contemplated a future that had suddenly become very uncertain. Council Leader Thexmore called for order as the great chamber buzzed with nervous energy. 3 days had passed since Velinara's report, and the galactic representatives had spent every hour debating humanity's future. Now it was time for a decision. The question before us is simple, Thexmore announced to the assembled council. How do we deal with humanity? They will soon discover faster-than-light travel and learn about our existence. What we decide today will shape the future of the galaxy. Defense Minister Corax was the first to stand. His scaled skin had turned dark green with stress. I propose immediate intervention. We should make contact with the humans now, while we still have some technological advantage. We can guide their development and establish proper diplomatic relations before they become too powerful. Too powerful? Ambassador Zethkar challenged. Minister Corax, I believe they already are too powerful. Did you see the latest reports from Earth? Velinara activated the main display. New images from Earth showed even more impressive construction. The humans had begun building massive structures that reached up through their atmosphere. Launch platforms for spacecraft lined their coasts. Industrial facilities covered areas the size of small countries. In just the past week, Velinara reported, they've increased their construction pace by another 30%. They're now completing projects in days that previously took weeks. Representative Qualith from the Crystal World stood up. This is exactly why we need to make contact immediately. We can offer them membership in the Galactic Council. Help them understand galactic law and proper expansion protocols. Membership? Defense Minister Corax laughed harshly. They've been a species for less time than some of our civilizations have existed. You want to make them equals? Look at their achievements, Qualith replied, gesturing to the display. They've accomplished in centuries what took us millennia. How can we not consider them equals? Ambassador Nexora from the floating cities had remained quiet during most debates, but now she stood. I disagree with both proposals. I believe we should strengthen the quarantine around their system. Prevent them from achieving FTL travel for as long as possible. The chamber erupted in arguments. Some representatives supported immediate contact. Others wanted to maintain isolation. A few suggested military intervention to slow human development. Silence, Thexmore's voice boomed across the chamber. We will hear each proposal properly. Minister Corax, explain your intervention plan. Corax activated his personal display. We send a diplomatic mission to Earth immediately. We reveal ourselves. Gradually, starting with their government leaders, we offer them guidance and technology sharing agreements that will control their expansion rate. And if they refuse our guidance? Asked Ambassador Zethkar. Then we use economic pressure. Trade agreements that favor civilizations who follow galactic protocols. Isolation for those who don't. Representative Qualith shook her head. That's exactly the wrong approach. We should treat humanity as the emerging superpower they clearly are. Offer them full membership in the Council. Give them a voice in galactic governance equal to their capabilities. You want to give voting rights to a species that didn't know other civilizations existed last week? Defense Minister Korax demanded. I want to acknowledge reality, Qualith shot back. Whether we like it or not, humanity is going to be a major galactic power. We can either work with them as partners or find ourselves dealing with them as rivals. Ambassador Nexora waited for quiet before speaking. Both approaches assume we have a choice in the matter. I believe we don't. Humanity has already demonstrated capabilities beyond our control. Our only option is to delay their expansion until we can prepare for the consequences. How do you propose to delay an entire species? Asked Velinara. Sabotage their space research. Introduce technical problems that set back their FTL development. Give ourselves time to build defenses. The chamber went silent at this suggestion. Sabotaging a protected species was the most serious crime in galactic law. Ambassador Zethkar stood slowly. I've been studying human development patterns for years. I have a different proposal. All eyes turned to him. I believe we should do nothing. Nothing? Several representatives asked at once. Nothing, Zethkar confirmed. We maintain our observation posts and wait for the humans to achieve FTL travel on their own. When they do, when they discover we exist, we respond honestly to whatever approach they take. That's incredibly dangerous, Defense Minister Korax protested. They might see our monitoring as hostile surveillance. They might attack us. They might, Zethkar agreed. Or they might surprise us, as they have every other time we've tried to predict their behavior. The humans don't think like other species. They don't act like other species. Maybe it's time we stop trying to treat them like other species. Council Leader Thexmore considered each proposal. Let's examine the likely outcomes. Minister Korax, what happens if your intervention plan fails? If the humans reject our guidance, we face an uncontrolled expansion by a powerful civilization. They could destabilize the entire galactic balance. Representative Qualith, what if offering them full membership backfires? If humanity proves hostile, we would have given voting power to an aggressive species. They could control galactic policy within decades. Ambassador Nexora, what if your sabotage plan is discovered? If the humans learn we've been interfering with their development, they would justifiably consider us enemies. War would be almost certain. And Ambassador Zethkar, what if doing nothing leads to conflict? Zethkar thought carefully. If humanity proves hostile, we face the same threat as the other plans. But if they prove peaceful, we have the best chance of establishing positive relations. Thexmore looked around the chamber. We need to vote. But first, let me remind everyone what we're really deciding. Humanity will achieve FTL travel whether we intervene or not. The only question is how they'll view us when they do. The voting process took 2 hours. Representatives debated details, formed alliances, and changed positions. Finally, Thexmore called for the final count. 7 votes for doing nothing and waiting for human contact. 3 votes for immediate diplomatic intervention. 2 votes for full membership offer. 0 votes for sabotage. The decision was made. The Galactic Council would maintain its monitoring stations but take no action until humanity made first contact. However, Dex_Moore continued, we will prepare for every possibility. Our monitoring stations will be upgraded with the most advanced senses available. We'll establish rapid response teams ready for diplomatic, economic, or military scenarios. And we'll begin cultural studies to better understand human psychology and motivations. As the council session ended, Velinara approached Ambassador Zethkar. Do you really think this was the right choice? Zethkar looked at the latest images from Earth. The blue planet now glowed with lights visible from space. Construction activity covered every continent. Humanity was reshaping their world with confidence and determination. I think, he said slowly, that humanity has been making choices that surprise us since we first discovered them. Maybe it's time we gave them the chance to surprise us again. 6 months later, the first human FTL test ship appeared at the edge of the Alpha Centauri system. Its message was simple: "Hello, neighbors. We've been wondering when you'd introduce yourselves." The galaxy would never be the same.